Elon Musk stops cyber attack on hospital. His sacrifice shocks the world. The night was eerily quiet inside St. Mary's General Hospital. Nurses moved swiftly through the dimly lit hallways, monitoring patients and adjusting machines with a calm efficiency. In the ICU, the rhythmic beeping of heart monitors provided a steady soundtrack of life holding on. Doctors whispered updates, and families clung to hope, watching over their loved ones. No one noticed the first sign of trouble. A sudden flicker on the computer screens. Then another. In less than a minute, the hospital's digital systems crashed, one by one. The heart monitors fell silent, life support machines shut down, and the main computer controlling the hospital's power grid flashed red. An ominous message appeared on every screen. Your system has been compromised. Pay 200 Bitcoin within the next 60 minutes, or all patient data and life support systems will be wiped permanently. Panic erupted. Doctors shouted for backup systems, but nothing responded. Phones went dead, medical records vanished, and the entire hospital was plunged into chaos. Thousands of miles away, inside Tesla's secure tech facility, Elon Musk sat in front of an array of glowing monitors. His eyes darted across lines of code as he reviewed the latest diagnostics for Tesla's AI systems. It was late, but Elon thrived at night, surrounded by data, solving problems no one else dared to tackle. Suddenly, his phone buzzed on the desk beside him. It wasn't a normal notification. It was a high-priority alert from an old cybersecurity project he had once contributed to, a system designed to detect and warn of large-scale cyber attacks on critical infrastructure. His brow furrowed as he read the message. Critical: cyber attack detected at St. Mary's General Hospital. Systems compromised. Lives at risk. Elon's fingers flew across the keyboard, pulling up live feeds and diagnostic data from the hospital's network. His eyes scanned the code, his mind racing. What he saw made his stomach turn. This wasn't a simple ransomware attack. It was a sophisticated, multi-layered assault designed to cripple the hospital completely. He leaned back for a second, his mind calculating possibilities. The attackers had encrypted the hospital's data and locked out every recovery option. Worse, they had taken control of life support systems and vital equipment. This wasn't just about money. Lives were hanging in the balance. Elon tapped into his secure communication line. His voice was calm but urgent. Get me a live connection to St. Mary's IT department. Now, seconds later, a frazzled voice came through. This is Dr. Patel, head of the hospital's IT division. Who is this? Elon Musk, he said without hesitation. I know what's happening at your hospital. I can help. There was a brief silence on the other end, followed by a burst of desperation. Our systems are locked. Nothing is working. We're losing patients. We tried restoring backups, but they've encrypted everything. Elon's jaw tightened. He could feel the weight of the situation bearing down on him. This wasn't just a technical problem, it was a race against time. Listen to me carefully, he said. I'm going to attempt a remote override, but it's not guaranteed to work. If it fails, things will get worse before they get better. Are you ready to trust me? We don't have a choice, Dr. Patel said, his voice trembling. Please, do whatever you can. Elon nodded, his fingers already moving across the keyboard. I'll be in touch. Keep your people safe. The command center around him buzzed with activity as Elon launched into action. His team gathered, sensing the urgency in his movements. We've got a live cyber attack on a major hospital, Elon said, his voice cutting through the hum of the room. Patient lives are at risk. I'm taking direct control of their network to counter the attack. I'll need all resources on standby. One of his top engineers, Lisa, leaned over his console. If you connect to their system, there's a high risk they'll trace back to Tesla's servers. Our security protocols could be breached. Elon didn't flinch. I'm aware. We'll deal with that later. Right now, people are dying. We're not letting that happen. The team moved swiftly, every second feeling like an eternity. Elon tunneled into the hospital's system, bypassing the encrypted layers with the precision of a master hacker. Lines of code flashed across the screen as he searched for vulnerabilities in the attacker's firewall. Sweat beaded on his forehead as he worked. This was no ordinary attack. The code was elegant, ruthless, and constantly adapting, almost as if it were alive. Whoever was behind this wasn't just a hacker. They were a professional, and they knew exactly what they were doing. Minutes ticked by, each one feeling like a lifetime. Elon's hands never stopped moving, his focus unshakable. The room was deathly silent, the weight of the mission pressing on everyone. Suddenly, a breakthrough. "I found an entry point," Elon said, his voice steady but tense. "They left a tiny vulnerability in their secondary encryption layer. I can exploit it, but I'll need to reroute Tesla's AI processing power to decrypt it in time." Lisa froze. "That's going to leave Tesla's internal systems exposed. If they're monitoring for a backdoor, they'll hit us next." Elon turned to her, his eyes fierce. "It's a risk we have to take." Back at St. Mary's, chaos continued to unfold. The ICU was in critical condition, nurses frantically working to keep patients stable without the support of the digital systems. Power fluctuations threatened to shut down life support machines, and panic gripped the staff as the countdown on the attacker's ransom clock ticked closer to zero. Just when it seemed like hope was slipping away, the monitors flickered back to life. One by one, the systems rebooted. Data returned, patient monitors reconnected, and the hospital's mainframe stabilized. Dr. Patel's voice came over the line, breathless. "You did it. The systems are coming back online." Elon didn't smile. "Not yet. Run diagnostics. Make sure everything is stable." He continued working, his fingers flying across the keyboard as he closed every backdoor the attackers had left behind, locking them out for good. Finally, after what felt like an eternity, he leaned back in his chair and exhaled. "It's done," he said softly. Cheers erupted in the command center, but Elon remained quiet, staring at the screen. He knew what came next. Tesla's servers had been exposed during the attack, leaving a trail for anyone determined enough to follow it. But for now, none of that mattered. Lives had been saved, and that was worth everything. The silence in Tesla's command center was deafening, broken only by the faint hum of computers running diagnostics in the aftermath of the attack. Elon remained seated, staring at the screen as data streams confirmed the hospital's full recovery. The crisis had been averted, but the weight of what just happened hung heavily in the air. His team began to murmur in relief, some offering quiet congratulations, but Elon raised a hand, silencing the room. "This isn't over," he said, his voice calm but serious. "We stopped the attack on the hospital, but Tesla's security has been compromised. They'll be back, and next time, they won't be so easy to block." Lisa frowned, leaning over the monitor. "I'm already seeing multiple probes on our network. Whoever these attackers are, they know we interfered." Elon nodded, deep in thought. "Monitor all activity. I want the security team on full alert. Let me know the second they try something else." Meanwhile, news of the attack at St. Mary's began to spread. Journalists picked up the story within minutes, reporting on the terrifying ransomware attack and how the hospital had narrowly avoided disaster. What no one knew, at least not yet, was that Elon Musk had been the one to stop it. Inside the hospital, Dr. Patel leaned against a wall, his knees weak from relief. His phone buzzed constantly with calls from local officials and reporters, but he ignored them for a moment, staring at the rebooted monitors. His mind raced, replaying the past few hours. One thing was clear: without Elon's intervention, the hospital wouldn't have made it. His thoughts were interrupted by a nurse, who handed him her phone with a nervous expression. "Dr. Patel, you might want to see this." He glanced at the screen, his eyes widening as he read the headline, "Cyber Attack on Major Hospital, Anonymous Hero Saves the Day." The article speculated on how the attack had been stopped, with some suggesting a team of elite hackers or a last-minute miracle. Dr. Patel's lips pressed into a thin line. He knew exactly who that anonymous hero was, but something told him Elon hadn't done it for the publicity. Still, the world deserved to know the truth. At Tesla HQ, Elon sat back, watching the news reports scroll by. The media frenzy had begun, with every major outlet speculating about the attack. His phone buzzed again, but this time it wasn't from his team, it was from a personal contact. He answered without hesitation. "Elon," a familiar voice said. It was Sarah Harding, a journalist he had known for years. I've got sources telling me you were involved in stopping that hospital attack. Is it true? Elon was quiet for a moment, then leaned forward, rubbing his temples. Sarah, this isn't about me. The important thing is that the hospital is safe and lives were saved. That may be true, Sarah said, but people are scared. They want to know who's protecting them from attacks like this. If you don't tell your side of the story, someone else will. Elon sighed. I didn't do it for the attention, Sarah. But if it helps bring awareness to how vulnerable our critical systems are, maybe it's time we talk. Hours later, the news broke. Every major outlet ran the story. Elon Musk intervenes to stop cyber attack on hospital. Social media exploded with reactions, some in awe, others in disbelief. Comments flooded in. Elon Musk is a real-life superhero. This is the kind of leadership we need in tech, using power for good. I never thought I'd say it, but thank you, Elon. You saved lives today. But not all the reactions were positive. Experts and cybersecurity analysts raised concerns. What if Tesla's systems were compromised in the process? One commentator asked. Has Elon opened Pandora's box by interfering with a cyber attack? The scrutiny grew rapidly. Some demanded transparency about what had happened at Tesla during the attack. Shareholders expressed concern, and competitors seized the opportunity to stir doubt about Tesla's security. At Tesla, Elon called an emergency meeting. His executive team filled the conference room, their faces a mix of concern and confusion. Elon, one of the board members, began, "We need to address the fallout. The press is already raising questions about our security. Share prices are dropping. We need to reassure the public that everything is under control." Elon listened, his expression unreadable. When the board member finished, he stood and walked to the front of the room. He rested his hands on the table, his eyes scanning the room. "Everything is under control," he said. "But make no mistake, what we did was the right thing. I'm not going to apologize for saving lives. But our reputation," another executive started, only for Elon to cut him off. "Our reputation is built on innovation and doing what's right," Elon said firmly. "If we compromise that for the sake of stock prices, we've already lost." The room fell silent. For a moment, no one dared to speak. Finally, Lisa broke the tension. "He's right. We did the right thing. We'll fix the security vulnerabilities and be stronger for it." The mood in the room shifted, confidence slowly replacing fear. Elon gave a small nod. "We move forward. Strengthen our systems. Be transparent with the public about what happened and what we're doing to prevent it from happening again." The next day, Elon held a press conference. The room was packed with journalists, cameras flashing as he stepped up to the podium. He took a deep breath, scanning the crowd. Yesterday, St. Mary's General Hospital faced a cyber attack that could have cost countless lives, he began. "When I learned about the situation, I did what anyone with the ability to help would do. I intervened." The room was silent, hanging on his every word. "I won't sugarcoat this. Cyber threats are a serious problem. Our hospitals, schools, and critical infrastructure are more vulnerable than most people realize. What happened at St. Mary's was a wake-up call. But it's also an opportunity for all of us, tech companies, governments, and individuals, to come together and make sure this never happens again." A reporter raised his hand. "Mr. Musk, was Tesla's security compromised during the attack?" "Yes," Elon said without hesitation. "In order to help the hospital, we had to make a tough decision. Tesla's systems were exposed briefly. But we've taken steps to secure everything and are working with the best minds in cybersecurity to ensure it doesn't happen again." Another journalist shouted, "Was it worth the risk?" Elon paused, locking eyes with the journalist. "When lives are at stake, there's no question. It was worth every risk." The room burst into applause. The world's reaction was swift. Support poured in from across the globe. Cybersecurity experts applauded Elon's transparency, calling it a rare example of ethical tech leadership. Politicians began drafting new cybersecurity legislation, inspired by his bold actions. But not everyone was satisfied. The attackers had vanished without a trace, and some feared they would strike again. Anonymous threats circulated online, warning of retaliation. Still, Elon remained calm. His focus was on the future, building stronger systems, protecting the vulnerable, and leading the charge for a safer, more secure digital world. The storm of media attention only grew in intensity over the following days. News outlets dissected every detail of Elon Musk's intervention, with analysts debating whether his bold actions were the mark of a visionary leader or a reckless gamble. Social media exploded with praise and criticism alike, while cybersecurity experts tried to unravel the full extent of what had occurred. Tesla's share prices took a hit initially, but something remarkable began to happen. Public sentiment shifted dramatically. People weren't just seeing Elon as a tech mogul anymore. They saw him as a man willing to sacrifice everything for others. Inside a dark room, thousands of miles away, a shadowy figure watched the news unfold. His fingers tapped rhythmically on the desk as reports of Elon's press conference played across multiple screens. The man leaned back in his chair, a faint smirk tugging at the corner of his lips. "You think you've won, Elon Musk?" he murmured to himself. But this is just the beginning. With a few keystrokes, the man launched an encrypted message into the depths of the dark web, a message meant for the small but powerful network of cyber mercenaries who had orchestrated the attack on St. Mary's. His plan wasn't just about ransom anymore. It had become personal. Back at Tesla HQ, Elon was already several steps ahead. His instincts told him the attackers wouldn't give up so easily. He had seen it before. When powerful people or groups were challenged, they often retaliated with more aggression. "We need to assume they'll come back," Elon told his top cybersecurity team. "Not just for Tesla, but for me personally. They won't just target our systems next time. They'll go after everything connected to us. Our suppliers, our satellites, even Starlink." Lisa nodded grimly. "I'll start reinforcing our external systems immediately." But Elon, if they launch a large-scale coordinated attack, even our most secure protocols might not hold. "I know," Elon said quietly. "But we won't let them catch us off guard." Days later, the retaliation began. Tesla's networks experienced a surge of cyberattacks, each one more aggressive than the last. It wasn't just Tesla. Starlink satellites reported attempted breaches, and strange anomalies began appearing in SpaceX's communication systems. Elon's worst fears were coming true. The attackers were escalating, trying to push him to his limit. Elon worked around the clock with his team, coordinating defenses and locking down critical systems. His eyes were bloodshot, his body running on little more than caffeine and adrenaline. He had faced many challenges before, but this was different. This was war. A digital war with no rules and no mercy. The attacks reached a new level of intensity one night when Tesla's primary AI server farm was hit with a devastating DDoS, distributed denial of service, attack. The servers struggled under the weight of the assault, threatening to crash completely. If they did, Tesla's operations worldwide would be crippled. Elon stood at the center of the command room, barking orders to his team as alarms blared around them. Reroute all processing power to the backup systems. Shut down non-essential operations and focus everything on defense. The room was a blur of activity as engineers scrambled to follow his commands. The tension was palpable, every second bringing them closer to the brink. Lisa appeared at his side, her face pale. "It's not enough. The attack is too strong. We'll lose everything if we don't take drastic action." Elon's mind raced. There was only one option left. A nuclear option that no one had ever considered using. Tesla's AI servers had a failsafe, a way to isolate and purge all infected systems in the event of an unstoppable attack. It would protect Tesla's core infrastructure, but the cost would be catastrophic. If he activated the failsafe, Tesla's entire AI network would be wiped clean. Years of research and development would be lost in an instant. Every algorithm, every innovation, every line of code would be gone. Elon's eyes locked onto the failsafe button on his screen. His hand hovered over the keyboard, his pulse pounding in his ears. Lisa placed a hand on his shoulder. "Elon, think this through. There's no coming back from this. If you do this, it'll set Tesla back years." "I know," Elon said, his voice barely above a whisper. "But if I don't, everything we've built will be used against us. And against the people who depend on us." For a brief moment, the room fell silent. All eyes were on Elon, waiting for his decision. He took a deep breath, his fingers tightening into fists. "Do it," he said finally. "Activate the failsafe." Lisa nodded, her face a mask of determination. "Understood." The next few seconds felt like an eternity. A confirmation screen appeared on Elon's monitor, the red letters flashing ominously. "Are you sure you want to proceed? This action cannot be undone." Without hesitation, Elon typed in the final authorization code. "Proceed." The failsafe activated. The room plunged into darkness as the AI servers shut down one by one. Monitors flickered and went black, the hum of the server farm falling silent. For a brief, terrifying moment, it felt as though Tesla itself had stopped breathing. Then, slowly, the backup systems came online. The command room's lights flickered back to life, and a wave of relief swept through the team. But Elon felt no relief. He stared at the blank screens, knowing the true cost of what he had just done. The world's reaction was immediate. News of Tesla's drastic actions spread like wildfire. Analysts called it one of the most significant events in tech history, a moment that would be debated and analyzed for decades to come. Some hailed Elon as a hero, a man who had made the ultimate sacrifice to protect the greater good. Others criticized him, calling the move reckless and accusing him of playing God with technology. But Elon remained silent. He had no interest in defending his actions. He knew what he had done and he stood by it. A week later, Elon sat alone in his office, staring out the window at the sprawling Tesla campus below. The sky was painted in soft hues of orange and pink as the sun set, casting a warm glow over the world. His phone buzzed on the desk. It was a text from Lisa. "Everything's stable. We're back on track." Proud to be part of this team, Elon smiled faintly, his fingers tapping out a quick response. "Proud of you all. Thanks for believing in this mission." He leaned back in his chair, letting out a long breath. The battle wasn't over, he knew that. The world of cyber warfare was constantly evolving, and new threats would always arise. But for now, they had won a crucial victory. And more importantly, they had shown the world that even in the face of overwhelming odds, it was possible to fight back. Elon's gaze drifted to the small red cross on the monitor in front of him, a symbol of the hospital he had saved. He thought of the doctors, nurses, and patients who had been given a second chance because of what they had done. It had been worth it. Every risk, every sacrifice, worth it. In the days that followed, the world seemed to hold its breath. The cyber attack and Elon Musk's drastic decision had become the most talked about event globally, not just in the tech world but across every major news network. Politicians, cybersecurity experts, and technology leaders debated the implications endlessly. Some called it a defining moment, a warning of how vulnerable modern infrastructure had become. Others hailed Elon's response as a bold stand against cyber terrorism. The media labeled it the great cyber sacrifice, and soon, the story took on a life of its own. But inside Tesla, things were far from calm. Engineers worked around the clock to rebuild the AI systems from scratch. Every line of code had to be rewritten, every algorithm reconstructed. Years of progress had been erased in a few moments of sacrifice, and it would take months, if not longer, to fully recover. Despite the setback, Elon never faltered. He was in the trenches with his team, coding alongside them, solving problems, and pushing everyone to keep moving forward. His determination was contagious, and though the road ahead was long, Tesla's engineers never lost faith. Lisa often caught herself watching Elon in those late-night coding sessions. His intensity never waned, but there was something else in his eyes, something she hadn't seen before. It was resolve, yes, but also a kind of peace. As if, despite everything, he knew he had made the right choice. One night, as they sat in the nearly empty command center, she finally spoke up. "Do you regret it?" she asked softly. Elon glanced at her, pausing for a moment. "No," he said simply. "Not for a second. Regret comes from doing nothing when you know you could have acted. I made a choice and I'll live with it." Lisa nodded, smiling faintly. "Good. Because we've got a lot of work to do." Elon chuckled. "That we do." Meanwhile, The ripple effects of his decision were being felt around the world. Governments moved swiftly to improve cybersecurity standards for hospitals and critical infrastructure. New alliances were formed between tech companies and public institutions, aiming to share knowledge and resources to combat future threats. Cybersecurity became a global priority in a way it never had before. Elon's sacrifice had ignited a movement, one based not on fear, but on resilience and cooperation. Companies that had once operated in isolation began collaborating, pooling their expertise to build a safer digital world. The message was clear: no one could stand alone against these threats, but together they were unstoppable. But not everyone was content to let the past go. In a dark corner of the web, the cyber mercenaries regrouped. Their leader, the man who had launched the original attack, watched the world's response with simmering rage. His plan had been thwarted, but the battle wasn't over. He tapped out a message on his encrypted device: "We'll be back. Stronger. Next time, he won't see it coming." Back at Tesla HQ, Elon stood on the rooftop, watching the sun rise over the campus. The first light of dawn bathed the buildings in a golden glow, a stark contrast to the chaos they had endured. He felt a deep sense of gratitude for his team, for their resilience, and for the second chance they had created together. His phone buzzed in his pocket. It was a message from Dr. Patel at St. Mary's. "Elon, I can't thank you enough for what you did. The patients and staff are safe because of you. You're a hero to all of us. If you ever need anything at all, you know where to find me." Elon smiled, his thumb hovering over the keyboard for a moment before typing his response. "Just keep saving lives, document. That's all the thanks I need." He slid the phone back into his pocket and took a deep breath, the cool morning air filling his lungs. The road ahead was still uncertain, full of challenges and risks. But if there was one thing he had learned, it was that the future was never something to fear. It was something to build. And he had no intention of stopping now. 6 months later, Tesla's AI systems were back online, stronger than ever. The lessons learned from the cyber attack had reshaped how the company approached security, making them pioneers in a new frontier of digital defense. Elon's actions had inspired a generation of technologists and engineers. Universities launched new programs in ethical hacking and cybersecurity, naming scholarships after him. Documentaries were made, books were written, and debates continued to rage about the choices he had made. But Elon remained as focused as ever. The world could speculate all it wanted, but he had moved on to the next challenge, a new project that would once again push the boundaries of what was possible. One evening, as he stood in his office reviewing the latest designs for a satellite-based global defense network, Lisa walked in with a tablet in hand. "Final diagnostics are in," she said. "It's ready." Elon nodded, his eyes scanning the data. "Good. Let's roll it out." Lisa hesitated for a moment. "You really think it'll work? A fully automated defense system that can detect and neutralize threats before they happen? It's ambitious, even for you." Elon's lips curled into a faint smile. "Ambitious is just another word for necessary." Lisa grinned. "Fair enough. Let's make it happen." As she turned to leave, Elon looked back at the monitor, the image of a spinning Earth glowing on the screen. For a brief moment, he allowed himself to reflect on the hospital, the attack, the sacrifice. The world had changed because of that night. For the better, he hoped. But he knew the fight was far from over. He tapped a key on his console, and the screen lit up with a new message: "System online. Threat monitoring activated." Elon leaned back in his chair, the weight of responsibility settling comfortably on his shoulders. "Bring it on," he whispered to himself. "We're ready." And for the first time in months, he allowed himself to relax, knowing that whatever came next, they would face it head-on.